y'all, and welcome back to the Local Honeybuns. I'm your host, Gabi, and co-hosts
Aleena
and Brian.
Today's episode is on unmasking stereotypes. We'll be discussing people's opinions and knowledge on unmasking stereotypes, also including why and how it contributes to them. So today we have Ben, and we're going to be just basically talking as a group and as a whole about unmasking stereotypes, how it affects people as a society, and so what are your opinions on unmasking stereotypes and this topic as a whole?
I think stereotypes and racism are different, but they also are kind of the same thing. They're kind of like throwing people into different groups because of who they are or or like the past of their culture was.
Definitely. And like, what are y'all's thoughts on this?
I think that this is very wrong because, well, not everybody is the same. And I think that everybody is the same in their own way. So like anybody could be like a thug. Anybody could be good at like art or anything like that.
Right, or gangsters or anything, really. I see what you're saying.
I agree. I do think racism is a reoccurring problem that we can't completely dismiss or like get rid of. I think it's always going to be a reoccurring problem, but I do think we can take action and do things that can help reduce racism.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's just what I think.
Yeah, definitely. So here we have a few stereotypes, including Asians, Blacks, Whites, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Native Hawaiians. And this is not saying that this is all of the stereotypes that we're going to be listing here, but this is just one or two of the ones that we found and that we've heard people say. So with that, you can we'll say those.
All right. So one of the stereotypes we have here are all Asians are good at math. Asians are good at math. This is a generalized idea in the West, yet surveys have shown that the average Asian still performs better on any kind of standardized test compared to anyone in America. In math, several factors are behind this. Culture is one of them.
Definitely. So like, I think that is very much true. Like culture, everyone is raised differently.
Right.
Everyone is has different household. Everyone is raised in a different part of the world. So I think that it is going to be it's going to be a different way of you learning. You can be good at math. You can be good at anything really, or you can be bad at anything. So like, what are y'all's opinions on that? Just generally.
I agree with you. I think it is the way that you're raised, the way like that your parents taught you probably. Sometimes racism isn't like your fault. Probably like you learned it from your parents or something, or you saw other people that you look up to being racist.
Definitely.
So I mean, yeah.
I agree with kind of like there's just like the way that you were raised. It's kind of like how older people like my grandparents, they have their own opinions and views on minorities, but they grew up in a time where it was kind of like segregation.
Definitely.
And like the whole border problem.
Yeah,
and they
just
stuff. Grew up with that problem, and they don't really see what's wrong with it because it was normal at their time.
Definitely. So you can list like one we have here is all black men are gang members, and we have a few statistics for that as well.
All right. An astonishing 62% of all actors who are credited as quote-unquote gang members are black. Related credits: gangster 61% black, gang banger 60%, and thug 66% drew similar results. Interestingly, another related term we looked at, the slightly more defined henchman, was 81% white and only 4% black. I honestly think that yes, this is like statistics have backed this up and it is true, but I think people judge the other unknown half. They think just because 50% of black people are considered thugs or whatever, and then that means the other 50% are also bad.
Right, so it's like these stereotypes are really like in the beginning of each stereotypes, it's saying all the specific race are so and so,
Right.
like all racist, all thugs, all good at math, right? But they're not all those things because we're all human, we're all different, right? So really thinking about like, yes, there is going to be that 60%. Yes, there is going to be whatever percentage we have, but that doesn't mean it's going to be all of those people and as a whole. So what are your thoughts
I agree
on
with that. I agree with that. Because there are successful black people, there's successful white people, Hispanics, Asians. So it's like not always true.
Definitely,
Right.
yeah. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there are a lot of successful minorities that don't fit into those stereotypes. I feel like a good example is like Obama, the first
Right.
black president in the United States. That was a huge accomplishment in their
Right.
culture, in their history.
Definitely, and that's really pushing towards like not all black people are gangsters, gang members. All black
Right.
men are gang members as a whole. So we have
Another stereotype we have are all white people are racist. Just gotta find the statistic here.
right. So as like she finds the statistic, like what are y'all thoughts on like all white people are racist? Like what are y'all thought? Like I personally think that. This is kind of like it's all like tied together. Like yes, there are going to be white people that are racist, but that doesn't mean all white people are racist, right? So
Right.
like, what are y'all's thoughts on that? Like, as the white people being racist.
Well, I think that not all white people are racist. I know a couple white people. They're not racist. Like they're pretty cool. There's white people in my neighborhood. They're not racist either.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and I did find that statistic that I'm going to share with y'all. The role of racism in the U.S., foreign relations, racism, and class of consciousness in modern capitalism, and the creation of international collisions. The essay considered causes and motivations for racism among whites to suggest 4 ways to eliminate racism.
Definitely. So like that's not really like. It is like. White people, so this is like saying that white people are trying to help and trying to promote not racist acts as a whole, right? So, like, yes, like, I feel like the all white people racist thing doesn't really have to contribute to their race because that's just being either open-minded.
Right, and it's generalized just because of one group. So
Right.
we think just because one group is like that all of them are like that.
Right, definitely. So, like...
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Not all of them are like that, you know.
Definitely. So
Right.
yeah, we have I think two more like general.
And when we go on to the next stereotype is that all Hispanics are Edgars. Brian, what do you think about this?
Yeah. Just
I kind of think it's true. If you go to like schools like Southern,
Right.
most of the Hispanics are Edgars.
Right.
Cause
But there's nothing wrong with that though.
there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely agree with you as a whole. And like when I think of Edgars, I think of mostly the hairstyle. So we have
Right.
a statistic here of that hairstyle not really contributing back in the 1500s or 1700s. The hairstyle has been found to have some resemblance to the hairstyles of indigenous Native Americans, including the Jumano tribe, and which are dominant between the 1500s and 1700s in Texas. So, you know, that's not really saying that, you know, the Mexicans and the Hispanic community, like, you know, it's not like Texas is
Right.
the U.S., right?
Right. And it's definitely not all of them.
Right.
Like
It's not
yes,
gonna be-
like Brian was saying, some of them, like some of them, yeah, but not all of them.
Right, definitely.
What do you think, Brian?
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I also think like with the hairstyle, like hairstyles in general are like society based. So like you'll look at people who look like you and copy their hairstyle because you think it looks cool, right? It's not
Right.
really about the origin or anything about that. So yeah.
I do want to say one thing. I feel like hairstyles, the way people talk, the way people act, that shouldn't describe, that shouldn't
Right.
be like associated with race. And yeah, it might be part of your culture, just kind of like like a while ago there was this white woman who got dreads. And
Right.
everybody was like getting mad at her, saying, "You can't do that. That's our culture. You're just stealing that. You're racist."
Right.
And she
Right.
said, "That shouldn't be the problem here."
Right, because you don't
Like-
know where she was raised. Like, she could have been adopted into a family
Right.
And
of...
it's literally just
She
a haircut.
could, and she could be black, just have lighter, like a
Yeah.
lighter skin tone.
Mhm, right, so it's really just disrespectful and assuming that people of that like origin and stuff like that.
All right. And
So the last one we have is the Native American / Native Hawaiians. If you want to read that. Right. So the stereotype we have here is all natives, including Native Americans and Native Hawaiians, are aggressive drunks. And what are y'all thoughts on that? Like, here we don't have any. I'm assuming we don't have any Native Americans here. I have a little bit of Native American in my bloodline,
Yeah,
but that
me
doesn't
too,
mean
but I'm not, like-
right.
yeah.
Like, if the origin. So what are y'all's thoughts on this stereotype as a whole? While I find this statistic.
Well, according to the statistics, they have it in their culture because the Europeans brought it to
Right.
them, and then it just became popular among them. But that was like a really long time ago. That doesn't contribute to right now.
Right.
Right.
Probably
definitely.
not all Native Americans are like that now. They probably know their risks,
Definitely.
Exactly.
and they probably
And
have more control.
Definitely, like back then, like they didn't know that smoking or drinking was affecting their body. So,
Right,
if
exactly.
we have the statistic here.
Yeah, and I do have the statistic here. Native Americans have experienced substantial problems with alcohol since its introduction to their culture by early European settlers. Again, what Brian was saying. Epidemiological data.
Epidemiology.
Sorry, guys. I struggle with reading a little bit. Data indicate that elevated morbidity and mortality attributable to alcohol abuse among the population remain at epidemic levels. So an epidemic is not a pandemic; it's a group of people instead of like the majority of the population.
Exactly. Basically, so that's
So
basically
it's
what we're
saying
saying.
that it is a very big. It is a slight amount of people, which is why people get this idea that it's all natives.
Definitely. So, like, again, like, this is really all revolving around the same thing that we've been saying and repeating, which can kind of conclude what we're saying here today is that stereotypes are going to be there and are going to have a percentage of people, but that does not mean that all of the people in that specific group are going to be revolving around that stereotype, whether it is with the Asian, Black, white, Hispanic, Native American / Native Hawaiian people.
Right.
That doesn't mean any of these stereotypes revolve around these people. And statistics show that these things have. So the last thing we can do is just talk amongst the groups of real life examples that we've seen, real life examples that we've felt, and we have just overall like experience of what our emotions were and what our overall thinking of that was. So what are y'all, if y'all have any real life examples of racism that you've had?
I haven't really had any real life examples other than like people assuming I'm Mexican.
Right.
People assuming.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because sometimes like people assume that all Hispanics come from Mexico.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not. It's a whole like
It's just
diverse.
South America.
Yeah, South America. So what about you guys?
I can definitely relate to that. Every time I tell people that I'm Asian, they're like, "Oh, so you're Chinese."
Right, and it's not.
It's not true.
That is not true.
Yeah.
And then they just try to guess Korean, Japanese. No.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no.
it's
You don't
hurtful.
know.
It's
Right,
kinda
it is
hurtful
because-
you're just assuming.
Right.
Right.
And you're not really like being open-minded about how many countries there are in the world and how many like
Countries there are in Asia.
countries are in Asia, to be specific. Like,
Right.
and what about you, Aleena?
So my father is from Colombia, so I am half white, half Colombian, and I do have a lighter skin tone, so people tend to assume that I'm just white, which also can be kind of hurtful because they're judging me by my skin tone. And I've also had some people in the past that I've heard using racial slurs such as the N-word. These are people that are not black, and they say it, and it just makes me sad for the white people that this is something that's normalized when it shouldn't be.
And one real life example I have of myself is that people really think that I'm black, like just black, but I'm actually not. My dad is black, and my mom's side of the family is Portuguese. So I am a mixture of that. I have olivey undertone to my skin, so I do have my curly hair. That's the dominant gene I got from my father, but overall my skin is not like that dark, like brown color. And there was this one time I was at a camp in a bathroom, and this white lady, which is also another stereotype, but it was a white woman who said, "You people are not allowed here," and it was very hurtful. I was very upset about it because it was a long time ago, and I was younger, and I didn't really know how to react to that. I didn't really know who I was at that moment, like what my race was or anything. And like, let's just bring it back to this, like, race didn't really mean anything to me. That's just how I was born and how I was
but then they made it a thing. They
made it a thing to me, and I'm like, what does that have to do? I'm just here to use the bathroom. I'm not here to show off, oh, I have this or this, right? It's just how I was born, and I can't really change that. And so
this did kind of remind me, just kind of like, I don't know if you guys could like relate to this, but when I was younger, my parents had to bring up racism and tell me that people were going to treat me in a negative way just because of the color of my skin.
Definitely, or how you look.
How I look.
And that has also been with me too. Like, I've been told, like, you're not going to have that many opportunities in your life because of your race. You're going to be judged upon, and you know, it's hard to hear that, especially when you're a kid, because you don't really understand fully what that means as a whole.
It's just unfortunate that these kind of things are normalized, and I'm sorry to anyone who has had to deal with that.
Just like overall, like, we've all had experiences, and very truly sorry to people who have had those experiences overall.
Yep.
But pretty much concludes our podcast today. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if y'all have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. We hope this has helped people. We hope this has helped people.
Yeah, definitely. And just hearing people out and hearing different perspectives. All four of us have a different perspective, even though they are similar. We all have similar opinions. It doesn't mean it's, the same, as we're saying here in the Stereotypes. Similar, but not the same. So that concludes our episode with the Local Honeybuns. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and please stay tuned for our next episode that's going to be down below. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
And the honey buns are out.
Why would you say that?